Take a step back in history and you'd find a very different Singapore to what you know today. A time when adventurous explorers ate wild animals and wild animals ate people.
Now, one of Southeast Asia's oldest museums is opening its vaults in a new Bicentennial exhibition. And Dawn Tan walks us through some of the 200 weird and wonderful stories showcasing the region's natural heritage.
Back in 1819, when the British arrived in Singapore, they would have discovered an island covered in lush, untouched rainforest and seas that were pristine. It was in that year that Stamford Raffles and a Major General from the East India Company, his name was Thomas Hardwick, they went on a sea excursion. They went to see what they could find in the waters around the island, and they discovered this rather magnificent specimen. It came to be known as the Neptune cup, the first named animal in Singapore. It was presumed extinct until about 2011.
Hungry for adventure, it was also that sea trip which saw Raffles catching and eating an animal deemed vulnerable today.
The dugong which we examined measured 8.5 feet in length and afforded no less interest under the knife than satisfaction on the table, as the flesh proved to be most excellent beef.
It wasn't just Raffles who had an appetite for gastronomic escapades. This Austrian explorer started a journey around the world and ended up in the Malay archipelago. While on her boat trip, the crew made an unexpected discovery on board. The sailors pulled its skin off and were then going to throw it into the sea, but I advised them not to do that, but to eat it. And spanning 200 years, the exhibition includes stories bizarre and bold, of theories gone awry, like this French naturalist's observation of fish falling out of the sky after a heavy thunderstorm, to the raucous menagerie races that were held in 1881, and a darker reality, that of the trade of live animals, a business that once thrived on our shores.
We feel that these 200 things are a good representation of what has happened in Singapore's natural history over the past 2 centuries. Things like colonialism, agriculture, exploration, the animal trade, for example. And these are all things we cannot escape from. They are part of what makes Singapore, Singapore today.
Nothing tells the story of the bitter rivalry of William Farquhar and Sir Stamford Raffles quite like this little guy, the Malayan tapir. It signifies a rush to discover and to describe, and that's what they both wanted, to be the very first to describe this animal for the history books.
But in the end, both men were pipped to the post by the efforts of 2 French collectors, hired by Raffles himself. The duo took the research of Raffles and Farquhar to French naturalist Baron Cuvier, who now holds the honor of naming Tapirus indicus. Science generally agrees that knowledge of our natural history heritage may be the best way to ensure that what remains stands a good chance of surviving into the future.